Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Before we begin today's story, and I want to ask you something. How are you doing? I really mean that. Where are you listening to us from today? Write it in the comments below. It can be just one word. Your city, your country, anything. I read every single comment, and I am always amazed by how many different corners of the world our stories reach. So please, now tell me where you are. I would love to know. Today we are talking about something very powerful. We are talking about courage. About women who fought for their rights in one of the most complex countries in the world, about women who were told to be silent and chose to speak. About women who were told to stay home and walked out into the streets. Have you ever fought for something that everyone around you said was impossible? Have you ever stood up for yourself when the whole world told you to sit down? The women of Iran did this for more than 100 years, and their story is one of the most remarkable stories of the 20th century. This is the story of Iranian women and their long fight for rights. Let us begin. To understand this fight, we need to go back to the beginning of the 20th century. Iran at that time was a country in crisis. The Qajar dynasty was weak. Foreign powers controlled much of the country's wealth. The people were poor and frustrated, and a new idea was spreading through the land, the idea of rights, the idea of freedom, the idea that ordinary people, not just kings and clergy, deserved a voice. In 1905, the constitutional revolution began. Iranians rose up and demanded a constitution. They demanded a parliament. They wanted modern laws and modern government. And women were part of this revolution from the very beginning. This surprises many people. We often think of Iranian women in the 20th century as passive, as silent, as people to whom things happened. But that is completely wrong. Iranian women were active, they were organized, they were determined. And they were brave in ways that are difficult to imagine today. During the Constitutional Revolution, women formed secret societies. They called them anjomans. These were secret organizations where women met and talked and planned. In the streets of Tehran and Tabriz, women marched in protests. Some of them carried weapons under their long robes. They stood behind the barricades. They supported the constitutional fighters with food and money and encouragement. Women also started newspapers. Female journalists began writing about education, about rights, about the future of Iranian women. This was extraordinary. In a society where most women could not even leave the house without permission, some women were already writing and publishing and organizing. But the constitutional revolution did not bring women the rights they hoped for. The new parliament, the Majlis, did not include women. Women could not vote. Women were not considered full citizens under the new laws. They had fought for the revolution, and the revolution left them behind. This was deeply painful. But it did not stop them. In the years that followed, Iranian women kept pushing. They opened girls' schools. They educated themselves and their daughters. They knew that education was the foundation of everything. Without education, you cannot argue for your rights. Without education, you cannot write laws or newspapers or petitions. Education was the first battlefield, and Iranian women fought on that battlefield with everything they had. And then came a man who changed everything, for better and for worse. In 1925, Reza Shah Pahlavi came to power. He was a modernizer. He wanted Iran to look like a European country. He built roads and factories and universities. He reformed the legal system, and he made some decisions that directly affected women. In 1936, Reza Shah did something that shocked the entire country. He banned the veil. He made it illegal for women to wear the hijab in public. Police were ordered to remove the veils from women's heads by force if necessary. Now, this sounds like progress, and in some ways it was. Reza Shah opened universities to women. He encouraged women to work outside the home. He wanted Iran to appear modern to the world. But there was a deep problem with how he did it. For many Iranian women, especially religious women and women from traditional families, the veil was not oppression. It was identity. It was dignity. It was their choice. And when the government took away that choice by force, when police physically removed their head coverings in the street, these women felt violated, humiliated. Some women refused to leave their homes for years rather than appear unveiled in public. Some families locked their daughters inside rather than let them be seen without their veil. So here is the painful paradox. A law that was supposed to liberate women ended up imprisoning many of them inside their own homes. Forced unveiling was not freedom, it was just a different kind of force. This is one of the most important lessons in the story of Iranian women. Real freedom cannot be imposed from above. Real freedom is a choice, and taking away one choice, even a choice that seems limiting, is not the same as giving freedom. Reza Shah was removed from power in 1941 by British and Soviet forces during the Second World War. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah, took the throne. And the story continued. If you are enjoying this story, my friends, please give it a like right now. It takes just 1 second, and it helps us reach more people who love learning English through history. Thank you so much. Under Mohammad Reza Shah, the situation for women slowly improved, but slowly is the right word, very slowly. And not without a fight. In 1962, women across Iran received something they had been demanding for decades, the right to vote. For the first time in Iranian history, women could participate in elections. They could vote. They could run for office. It was a historic moment. Women had been fighting for this since the Constitutional Revolution of 1905. It took more than 50 years, but it came. The following year, the Shah launched his White Revolution, a program of major social and economic reforms. Women's rights were officially part of this program. Women gained more legal rights in marriage. The minimum age for marriage was raised. Women gained the right to divorce their husbands under certain conditions. Women could become judges. They could enter professions that had been closed to them before. By the 1970s, Tehran looked very different from the Tehran of 50 years earlier. Women were studying in universities. Women were working as doctors, lawyers, engineers, professors, and government officials. Some women held senior positions in government. Iran had female ministers, female ambassadors. The number of girls in school had grown enormously compared to the beginning of the century. But, and this is a very important, but all of this progress existed alongside deep inequality. Outside the big cities, life for women was very different. Traditional customs were strong. Many women still had very little control over their own lives, and for all women, educated or not, urban or rural, the legal system still treated them as less than equal to men in many fundamental ways. And underneath the surface of this modernization, something else was growing: anger. At the Shah's authoritarian government, at the secret police, at corruption, at foreign influence, at the gap between rich and poor. This anger brought together people of very different beliefs. Secular liberals, leftists, and religious conservatives. And in 1979, it exploded into revolution. The Islamic Revolution changed everything for Iranian women, almost overnight. The new government introduced mandatory hijab for all women in public spaces. At first, many women, including secular women who had supported the revolution, refused. On March 8, 1979, International Women's Day, tens of thousands of women marched in Tehran to protest the new hijab rules. They chanted in the streets. They were brave and they were loud, but the new government was stronger. The mandatory hijab became law. Women were removed from positions as judges. The minimum marriage age was lowered dramatically. Many of the legal rights that women had gained under the Shah were reversed or restricted. For many Iranian women, the revolution that they had helped to make had turned against them. But here is what is extraordinary. Here is what makes this story so remarkable. Iranian women did not accept this quietly. They did not disappear. They adapted, they organized, they pushed back, now carefully, intelligently, persistently. Women fought to stay in universities, and they succeeded. Today, Iran has one of the highest rates of female university enrollment in the region. More than 50% of Iranian university students are women. Women became writers and filmmakers and artists. They found ways to express themselves and to push boundaries within the new system. Female lawyers and activists worked for decades to change family law from within. They gathered signatures. They wrote petitions. They argued in courts. They published articles. They built networks. One of the most important campaigns was called 1 Million Signatures. Activists went door to door across Iran collecting signatures from ordinary women asking for changes to discriminatory laws. They collected signatures in small towns and large cities, from educated women and from women who had never thought about activism before. It was patient, determined, grassroots work, and it was dangerous. Many of the organizers were arrested. My friend, if this story is moving you, if you feel the strength of these women coming through, please subscribe to our channel right now. Every subscriber helps us keep telling stories like this one. Stories that matter. Stories that deserve to be heard. Journalist and activist Shirin Ebadi became one of the most important voices for women's rights in Iran. She was a judge before the revolution. After the revolution, she was removed from her position because she was a woman. But she did not stop. She became a lawyer. She defended political prisoners and human rights cases. She wrote and she spoke and she refused to be silenced. In 2003, she became the first Iranian and the first Muslim woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. She accepted the prize without a veil, a quiet but powerful statement. She said Iranian women deserved full equality under the law. She said the struggle would continue. She was right. And then came 2022. A young Kurdish Iranian woman named Mahsa Amini was arrested by the morality police in Tehran. She was accused of not wearing her hijab correctly. She died while in custody. The exact circumstances of her death were disputed by authorities. But the Iranian people did not believe the official story, and something broke open. Protests erupted across the entire country, in cities and towns and villages. Students came out. Workers came out. Men and women came out together. Young women stood in the streets and removed their headscarves. They cut their hair in public as a symbol of protest. They chanted, "Woman, life, freedom." These three words became the most powerful slogan in Iran in a generation. The government responded with force. Many people were killed. Many more were arrested. The protests were suppressed. But the memory did not go away. The slogan did not go away. Woman, life, freedom. It spread around the world. It was painted on walls in cities across Europe and America and Asia. It became a symbol not just for Iranian women, but for women everywhere who fight for the right to live freely. The story of Iranian women in the 20th century is not a simple story of progress. It is not a straight line from oppression to freedom. It goes forward and then backward and then forward again. Laws change, governments change, but the women keep going. They keep organizing, they keep studying, they keep writing. They keep marching. They keep demanding. What does this story teach us? It teaches us that rights are never given. They are always won through patience and courage and intelligence and persistence. The Iranian women who formed secret societies in 1905 could not have imagined the university students of the 1970s. And the women of the 1970s could not have imagined the protesters of 2022. But there is a thread that connects all of them. A thread of courage, a refusal to accept that their lives should be controlled by others, a belief that they deserve to be free, and just like these women fought for their voice, we fight for our voice every time we learn a new language. Every time we understand a new story, every time we find the words to express what we feel and what we believe, English gives you a voice that reaches the whole world. Use it. Protect it. Be proud of it. Thank you for listening to this story today. I hope it moved you. I hope it stayed with you. If you liked this story, please give it a like. If you want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe to our channel and write in the comments below, what did you feel listening to this story? And remember, tell me where you are from. I read every single comment. Until next time, my friends, keep learning, keep listening, and keep enjoying the beautiful journey of English. And now let us look at some words from today's story. Our first word is constitution. A constitution is the most important set of laws in a country. It explains how the government works. It explains the rights of the people. Think of it like the rules of a game, but for an entire country. Without a constitution, a ruler can do anything they want. With a constitution, there are limits. There are rules that even the most powerful person must follow. In our story, Iranian women fought alongside men during the Constitutional Revolution of 1905. They wanted a constitution. They wanted rules that protected ordinary people. They fought bravely. But when the Constitution was written, women were left out of it. The next word is paradox. A paradox is a situation that seems to contradict itself, something that should make sense, but does not. Something that looks like one thing, but is actually the opposite. Here's a simple example. The more you try to remember something, sometimes the more you forget it. That is a paradox. In our story, the paradox is this. Reza Shah banned the veil to give women freedom, but for many religious women, this forced unveiling was not freedom. It was humiliation. A law meant to liberate ended up imprisoning women in their own homes. That is a painful paradox. Now, let us look at the word mandatory. Mandatory means required, obligatory. You must do it. You have no choice. If something is mandatory, it is not optional. For example, in many countries, education is mandatory for children up to a certain age. You must go to school. The law requires it. In our story, after the 1979 revolution, the hijab became mandatory for all women in public spaces in Iran. It was no longer a personal choice. It was a legal requirement. Women who did not follow this rule could be arrested. Our next word is grassroots. Grassroots describes something that starts with ordinary people at the bottom, not with governments or powerful organizations at the top. A grassroots movement grows from the ground up, from neighborhoods and communities and ordinary conversations. Think about a small group of neighbors who want to clean up their local park. Nobody told them to do it. No government funded them. They just cared, and they organized themselves. That is grassroots. In our story, the 1 million signatures campaign was a grassroots movement. Ordinary women going door to door across Iran, no big organization behind them. Just courage and determination and belief. The next word is secular. Secular means not connected to religion. A secular government makes laws based on reason and human rights, not on religious text. A secular person lives their life without religion as the central organizing principle. In our story, many secular Iranian women supported the 1979 revolution. They wanted to end the Shah's authoritarian government. But they did not want a religious government either. When the Islamic Republic introduced mandatory hijab and religious law, secular women were among the first to protest. They had helped make the revolution. And the revolution changed their lives in ways they had not expected. Now let us talk about the word petition. A petition is a formal written document that asks a government or authority to change something. Many people sign it together. The idea is that when many voices speak together, they are harder to ignore. Think about it like this. If one person writes a letter to the government saying, "Please fix this road," the government might ignore it. But if 10,000 people sign the same letter, that is much harder to ignore. In our story, Iranian women activists gathered 1 million signatures asking for changes to discriminatory laws. 1 million voices asking together. That is the power of a petition. Our next word is activist. An activist is a person who works actively to create change in society. They campaign, they protest, they organize, they write, they speak. They refuse to accept the world as it is if they believe it is unjust. An activist is not someone who just has opinions. An activist is someone who acts on their opinions. In our story, there were many extraordinary female activists in Iran. Lawyers, journalists, students, ordinary women, all working in their own ways to change laws and change attitudes. Many of them were arrested. Many of them paid a very high price for their courage. Now let us look at the word enrollment. Enrollment means the act of officially joining or registering for something, like a school or a university. When we talk about enrollment rates, we mean the percentage of people who are officially studying in educational institutions. High female enrollment in universities means many women are going to university. In our story, despite the restrictions of the Islamic Republic, Iranian women fought to stay in higher education. Today, more than 50% of Iranian university students are women. This is a remarkable achievement in the context of the political and social restrictions they face. Our next word is suppressed. When something is suppressed, it is stopped by force, controlled by force, pushed down by force. A government can suppress a protest by sending police into the streets. A person can suppress their emotions by refusing to show them. In our story, the protests of 2022 were eventually suppressed by the Iranian government. Security forces used violence. Many people were killed and arrested. The protests in the streets stopped. But suppressing protests does not suppress Shias. The slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom," continued to spread around the world long after the streets became quiet again. And our last word for today is persistent. Persistent means continuing to do something for a long time despite difficulties and obstacles. A persistent person does not give up when things get hard. They keep going. They keep trying, day after day, year after year, even when progress is slow. Even when the obstacles seem enormous. In our story, the women of Iran showed extraordinary persistence over more than 100 years. They were excluded from the constitutional revolution. They kept going. They faced forced unveiling. They kept going. They lost rights after 1979. They kept going. They were arrested and silenced. They kept going. Persistence is perhaps the most powerful quality in the entire story of Iranian women. And that is all for today, my friends. I hope these words help you. I hope this story of courage and persistence stays with you, and I hope it reminds you, Chi, that your own journey of learning English requires the same persistence. Keep going, even when it is hard. Even when progress feels slow, the women of Iran never stopped, and neither should you. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and keep growing.